Hello and welcome to the Brit Irons Week 17 preview episode. I'm your host James, and as ever I'm joined by my good friends Matt and Sam. Now before we get into things, we should give a quick shout out to the UKTouchdown.com. It's a great source of signed NFL and college memorabilia based in the UK. And you know what, boys? It's all 100% legit.
100%.
Fully certified.
Great way to spend some of that.
Fully.
Great way to spend some of that Christmas money that's just burning a hole in your pocket, isn't it?
Definitely burning a hole in my pocket.
Yeah.
So I'll be sure to head over to the UKTouchdown.com, and so should you at home. But back to the football, and we have a big week 17 ahead of us. Last game week of the season. A lot to play for some teams.
Yeah.
Not so much for others. I think that's a good way of putting it. But let's just jump straight in to Sunday 6 o'clock because there's no Thursday night games this week. And we see the Dolphins go into Buffalo to play the Bills. Of course, Bills clinched the division already, but the Dolphins are in a win and in situation here. But of course, playing against the Bills, which is their division rival, could they spoil the party?
It's tricky because I think the Bills, there's a chance that they rest some starters, right? Because the Bills, they've locked up the division. I don't think there's much to play for in terms of seeding. The one seed in the AFC is already locked up, so you're not going to get a bye. And I really think that the AFC is a really interesting division compared to the NFC because from seed 2 through to seed 7, I don't think there's that much difference in terms of there's not one team that I look at and in terms of right, I want the number 2 seed because I want that easy game. I don't think there are going to be any easy games in this AFC. No. Anyone who's on the verge is going to be a team that can really compete. So I think there's a chance the Bills rest some starters here and just get everyone fit and in top shape to play for that wild card game that they're going to have. On the flip side, the Dolphins have got everything to play for. They've got to win. This is a championship level defense playing championship level defense. Interesting thing to me is who's going to play more at quarterback for the Dolphins. Is it going to be Tua? Is it going to be Fitz? Is Tua going to be able to get the ball moving? We'll see. But I think the Dolphins win this game. I think they get in, and I'm really looking forward to seeing who gets the most of those kind of snaps at quarterback.
I think there's a little bit of this for the Bills, though, something to play for in terms of just trying to deny your division rival. There's a lot to be said for that, I think, and if they could turn around and be the only team from this division that makes the playoffs, that's quite a nice thing for them as well, to really say we're kind of the new Patriots here, we're going to take over this. I think in terms of the Dolphins, I'm not as worried about who plays more between Tua and Fitz. I think we differ on this quite a lot. I like what they're doing. I think they're getting Tua the experience, they're getting him out there. He can learn better when he faces the same defense, the same issues, and then Fitz goes in. You can hear it on the sidelines. They've had him mic'd up that he's then explaining it from a first-hand point of view. And Tua can understand it. I mean, they're still getting wins. So I think the whole time you can do this, roll with it. Get your young quarterback that experience, get the wins. And I mean, hey, if they're both happy to play sort of this type of football where it's one in, one out, with whatever suiting the situation, roll with it.
Yeah.
I think here, though, it really depends on who the Bills rest. Like, let's say if you're resting Josh Allen players like that, I'd say Miami take it. But I feel like then Josh Allen's still in the hunt for that old MVP. He's still lurking around it. I mean, it's a long shot, but from his point of view, he's going to be saying, put me out there. If I can have another massive game between him and, let's say, Stephon Diggs, then who knows?
It's funny you bring this up because the only other thing I wanted to mention on this Bills team was the MVP and how every year I come out and I kind of say, the MVP is not actually the most valuable player, right, in the league, I don't think. It goes to basically the best quarterback most of the time. Or every now and then there'll be a running back who comes out and has an outrageous season. I think this year, if you were doing who is the most valuable player on their team in the league, who is the person who is most crucial to a team in the league, I think Stephon Diggs could be the most valuable player in the league for his team right now. Just because the turnaround that we've seen from this, he's come in and he's leading the league in receptions, he's leading it in yards. He's got the most receptions in history for a player in their first season and a new team. He's just been dominant. And on the flip side of that, him coming in has opened up Josh Allen to be in the MVP conversation. I don't think, even with Josh Allen making the step that he has made, and I'm not at all attributing all of this to Stephon Diggs, but I think if Stephon Diggs isn't there, Josh Allen still comes out and has a good year. But I don't think they go 12-3, and I don't think Josh Allen looks this good.
Yeah, it's a good trade for them in the end of the day.
I think it's the best,
incredible,
best trade of the season of last year, and I really do think he is the most important player on that team. And with the way they're playing, I think they're a team that could go in, beat anyone on any given day.
Without doubt. The only thing for me on that is I think it's not necessarily Diggs, as he's a great receiver, but I think you put any sort of speedster, deep threat in that role, and it's the same. I think it's more the scheme and the role that is the most valuable. Let's say you put Tyreek Hill there, going to be just the same, maybe even better, who knows. That sort of, you put anyone that can fill that role, even at this point now he's playing Jefferson, if they'd have drafted him and had him there, would be doing the same. So that's the only reason for me I think he wouldn't get it. I think best off-season acquisition, it's up there, it's top 3 without a doubt. But on this game, I'm going to actually say Bills. To round it off, I think if I'm betting on this, I'm betting on Bills, just because I think they really want to make a statement getting in. If they can knock the Dolphins out as well, I think they're going to quite enjoy that.
Yeah.
Because it's almost been the 2 and 3 of this division for a while. So the Dolphins obviously dropped off on them, and the Jets were just dumpster fire. But this is sort of more was seen as the 2 and 3. So now it's who's going to be the undisputed top guy, and if you can be the only one that makes the playoffs.
Yeah, it's up there. I think if you look at the spread as well, -1 in favour of the Bills. I think even Vegas don't know where to put this.
Yeah.
They don't know if the Bills are going to be resting anyone. I mean, I don't think they should, like you said, because they want to beat out their rivals, right? And they want to be that team, but...
Keep the momentum as well.
Yeah.
This is a team that did drop off for a little while, and they came out hot, and then we said for a few weeks, maybe they're just going to be one of these 8-8 kind of Raiders style, look great, look bad teams. They're rolling now. Keep it going.
Don't want to Ravens it.
That's the thing. It's not like they're old players as well. A lot of these guys, they're not that old. They can afford, they can play and then play into the playoffs again if they need to. It's not like you've got, like, let's say, the Brady situation with some really old or Big Ben. These old guys, you kind of think, Breeze. Any of these old guys, you think, let's give him a week.
Rest his arm.
But with this, I mean, I'm sure they'll all want to be out there.
If they're out there, definitely Bills, I think.
Yeah, 100%, especially at -1.
I think it's stupid not to bet on the Dolphins if the Bills are resting players. But all right, let's move things on. And we have a great matchup between the Jets and the Patriots. Neither team can make the playoffs at this point. Jets are on a hot streak. Do we reckon they can make it 3 out of 3?
I think they will. Yeah. I think they're all playing. We've talked about playing with pride. They're really playing, kind of turn around this 0-16 thing and be like, look, we're not just going to be settled for one lucky win. You can come out of it with 3 wins.
Yeah.
No one can really say, oh, you're one of the worst teams in history, because statistically, they won't be.
Yeah.
On tape, they might look at the points, but they won't be. And this Patriots team, nothing to play for. Different team week in, week out. Different Cam Newton week in, week out. I mean, all this has come out about his current work schedule and all this being up at like 4:30 and going to bed at like 11:30. He's working harder than anyone in the NFL. And it's like,
he's thrown 4 passing touchdowns.
And this is what you get from it. Like,
it still takes him 3 hours.
You can work as hard as you want.
That's the problem. I think he's half asleep for most of that morning.
Yeah.
Like,
get a bit of rest, mate.
Yeah. Bit of rest, bit more coffee,
have a
bit
day
earlier.
Off, you know.
Yeah. Fair play on the commitment, but. Yeah, so I'm actually taking the Jets here and getting them at +3. Okay.
Yeah.
Over under at 40. Over on that all day, because this Jets team actually is putting up some points, and with the way the Patriots turn over the ball but still seem to be able to always run in a couple, I think 40 is very achievable for this game.
I'm iffy on that 40. Just because I think this Jets defense has not been terrible over the last 3 or 4 weeks. And on the flip side, this Patriots offense has been terrible. I mean, you're effectively relying on a rushing touchdown from Cam or one of whoever's in the backfield, and I don't necessarily think that Cam is a dead cert to be able to get them into the field. And I've been listening to a number of things that are saying there's some news that Cam might not even start, and it might be Jarrett Stidham out there because they want to see what Jarrett Stidham's got in a full game before next year, because they're going to have all sorts of questions around quarterback. They're potentially picking top 10. There's so much for them in terms of draft, and they need to see what they've got. So we might not even see Cam in this game. So I'm taking Jets. I'm taking the under, and I really like the Jets with the spread.
Yeah, and the curious thing about the Jets as well is they can't lose draft picks now. They're secured with the second pick.
They know what
whereas
they're doing.
The Patriots, that can flip-flop for them. So Jets, I mean, they'll be more fired up, I think, for this game anyway. So
and hopefully this time next week, I'll have finally got my season-long wish of Gate out.
Hey, I called it early doors.
You
did,
I called
you
it
did.
from the start.
You did.
Rumours have started as well in the league. I've seen a couple of things on Twitter the last couple of days.
Great. I reckon as soon as this game's done Sunday.
Yeah.
Spin him off. Yeah. It's a fresh start in New York. But, interesting matchup for sure, I think. However, let's shift things on and let's talk about the Ravens going into Cincinnati to play the Bengals. The Ravens can still make the playoffs. All we've got to do here is win. But of course, it's in division. So can they win it?
Yes.
I mean,
music to my ears.
It's a hot Ravens team who are they're getting good at the right time. They have to win. They're going up against a banged up Bengals team who's
putting up points though.
They're putting up points.
Was a Texans,
but they're playing against weaker defenses. The Ravens look good against the Giants, and it's against the defense looked great. Okay, it's the Giants' offense who have struggled mightily all year, but they still looked really good. And the offense looked good against the Giants' defense that we've been saying for 6-7 weeks is we're just getting better and better and better, and they looked really good against them. So I'm very confident taking the Ravens here. I'm less confident on the spread just because I think this is the kind of game that if this is locked up with 10 minutes to go, they start pulling players because they're like, right, we got a game next week and we don't want to we want to rest up as much as possible. But I do like the over.
Over being 44.5 on that one, and the spread being 12.5, which I think you're right. It's a bit big, but this is the Bengals, so
that's it. Whenever it's the Ravens, if I'm ever going to take a team on this sort of a spread, it's Chiefs or Ravens that I'll happily look at. But I think on this one, just because the Bengals have not really got anything to lose, they're moving the ball as well. They're putting up points. They did it against the Steelers. They put up enough. I've done it. There's 2 games in a row. This offense is kind of finding a way to just be like, all right, we're going to make these games a bit interesting, have a bit of fun here. And we've seen the Ravens not be as clinical on defense at points this season. Yeah. So I think the over definitely comes in. Yeah, that spread I'm going to avoid, but moneyline Ravens all day long.
Oh, definitely, yeah. This is it. This is the game. Things have gone the right way for the Ravens as well. The matchups last week, so good times down in Baltimore. But we have another AFC North matchup here between the Steelers and the Browns. Now, a couple of weeks ago, or even last week, we were saying this could be quite an interesting matchup, depending on how last week went. Didn't go that way because the Steelers won and the Browns lost. But for the Browns, it's still winning in at this point. So they just got to beat the Steelers. And this is a Steelers team who are benching players for this game. Does that mean Browns should lock this up?
If the Browns don't win this game, then they don't deserve to be in the playoffs. So I think this is a really good kind of gauge because they're going up against the best defense in the league. But on the flip side, that Steelers offense is going to have nothing with that quarterback. Mason Rudolph is not a good quarterback. We know that. So if they can't win this game, especially with their players coming out, I'm actually going to give them a pass on last week. They were missing 8 wide receivers and 3 offensive linemen. Like a lot of people are forgetting the O linemen were missing as well. They were effectively missing half of their offense, and they stepped up and they made it. They got behind early, and their run game did nothing. And Baker got pressured, but Baker still made it a game. Baker still
lost the game at the end.
He lost the game, but he was playing with half his offensive line missing and all of his receivers missing, with guys who had less over years. They had less than 1 full season's worth of snaps between all of them. So I'm not going to give him too much stick there. However, if they can't win this game, plain and simple, they A, don't get into the playoffs, and B, they don't deserve to be there. If they do win this game, I think they've earned an 11-5 record. That's about what they've been at. I think you have to turn around and go, you know what, Baker, for all he's got his ups and downs, he's taken a franchise in the space of 3 years that was the absolute pits, and he's turned them into a respectable winning team, which they haven't been for 20 years. And ultimately, they've got to be happy with that. Now, once they get into the playoffs, if they've got everyone there, I think the defense and the offense is good enough that they can beat pretty much anyone. I don't think they can beat the Chiefs. But I don't think this is a terrible team. I think they deserve to be in the playoffs, but if they don't win this game, then they've bottled it.
I think they're luckier that Big Ben's not playing, because Mason Rudolph, from what we've seen, he shouldn't be able to keep up with any competent offense in this league. But it's Baker against a good pass rush, and we know what happens when Baker gets pressured. He plays dreadful. Like, he just throws the ball away, he makes mistakes, he turns the ball over, he fumbles, does all the things you don't want to see your former first-round pick doing. So, like, you can say everything about how he's turned this team around. I think what's turned this team around is the running game and the defense. Yes, Baker at some games has put it on his back. At the end of the day, he's lost them quite a few games as well. You look at this season, you cannot say Baker's the reason they're 10-5.
No, I'm not saying
it's the run game and the defense.
I'm not saying that it is, but I think that the way in which he seems to get so much stick, and he's just one of these players that every time something goes wrong, something gets pushed on him, and it's like, well, hang about that game against the Jets. In my opinion, that is nowhere near on him. If anyone's to blame, it's the run game. The run game couldn't get going.
Didn't have their O-line though, so you can make the same argument for
yeah,
both.
but I mean, Baker still produced. The running backs did nothing.
Yeah.
Like literally nothing. So I think he gets so much more stick than he deserves. And I'm not by any means saying that he's a top half quarterback, but I think he's a comfortable guy that I think he's a guy that you could take, that with the right team around him, with the run game, with the defense that can stay consistent, could go to a Super Bowl. And he's never going to light the world on fire, but he can show up in the right moments. He can do it. He just gets so much stick because he's mouthy.
Well, it's not even that for me. Like, I like his attitude. Like, I like Baker. I just think it's very easy to see how to beat him. It's just pressure him. You get to him, and you don't even have to do it for a whole game. You do it at the start, get in his head a bit. He'll start making overthrowing things. You see it quite often with him when he gets hit a few times. The next maybe quarter, he's just overthrowing stuff. He's rushing everything.
Yeah, he gets rattled.
That's the thing. You can easily rattle him, and against the Steelers, this defense, unless they're resting more than just Big Ben, which I doubt, because again, a lot of that defense is a few younger guys. He's got Treasure White out there. He's gonna do enough. He's gonna get. He can pressure Baker almost on his own at this point. Yeah. He's an animal. So what I'm thinking is, if Big Ben was playing, and let's say, second half of last week, Big Ben, not first half. It's easy to go with the Steelers here, but I think this is definitely one for the under for me, just because I think Baker's gonna have a rough game. The run game's gonna want to come back into it, full offensive line, get it done, and it's just gonna be a defensive game. It's not one actually that I'm that looking forward to.
No,
I mean, there's a lot on it, and it should be great. You think 12-3, 10-5 in division, one team already in the playoffs, one trying to make it, but with the players being rested and what I think is gonna be a scrappy game. I'm gonna lean on the Browns with that, but not comfortably. Yeah. I'm not happy about it. If I had to call one, I'm not betting on this game at all. I'll say I think the Browns win just because I have no faith in Mason Rudolph.
Yeah.
But
it's a curious spread as well, -10. I mean, Vegas is really thinking about that Big Ben news.
But I think the thing is, with resting Big Ben, the other issue the Steelers have is they're at some positions they're very thin, and on defense especially, you see they took a couple of injuries mid-season, and their defense went from being generational insane because they just had 5 or 6 guys, and they went from having 5 or 6 insane players to having 4. And suddenly, when you go from having 6 to 4, it makes it easier to scheme against, and you've suddenly got a very good defense. Yeah. And if you're not playing Ben, they've effectively not actually. I know that we say, there's prize to play for and stuff like that, but if you're not playing your starting quarterback, you're playing Mason Rudolph, and you've got some guys out there who you think might be a little bit banged up. I know Hayward's a bit older. Like some of these defensive players, they'll play, but they might not play as many snaps as they think. And they're saying, right, get out, have a run out. But actually, I would imagine James Conner probably won't see the field because he's banged up in general. And the sad thing is, he's their best running back at the moment. Benny Snell looks like he's got nothing. So, I mean, they have no run game. I would be surprised if a lot of their starters are playing come the fourth quarter, just because I think they're going to go, it'll get to a point they go, look, it's not worth it. Keep everyone healthy. Yeah. Just, you've had your run out, get off the field, because there's ultimately, if they win this game, they don't really get anything out of it. At some point, they're going to all, like I was saying earlier, all these AFC teams, I think of the 3 options they're going to have of teams they could play, they're all relatively similar.
Yeah, and especially as well when you consider their bye week was so early. Yeah. I know we mentioned it a few times now, so give yourselves another bye week this week and get onto the playoffs a bit more healthy and a bit more ready to go. But let's shift things on once more and let's speak about the Cowboys going to play your Giants, Sam. And somehow this game has relevance, even though both teams have losing records coming to the last game of the season.
I think this is going to be the first year that in history that a team has made the NFL playoffs after starting 2-7.
The mind boggles at that when you say it like that.
Dreadful division.
The thing for these two teams, though, they do need Washington to lose their game. So this game could be nothing, or it could be something massive. So if Washington do lose, Sam, can your Giants do it?
No, I think this Dalton is clicking at the right time. The receivers in this offense for the Cowboys are all coming together at the right time. And on the flip side, the Giants' offense plagued with injuries. Like Daniel Jones hasn't looked great, and it's not like Colt McCoy is going to come in and set the world on fire. I don't think there is enough there, because I think in order to win this game, we'd need to be able to win a shootout. And I don't think we can win a shootout. I think the Cowboys will put up a minimum of 25 points, which would mean we need to put up a minimum of 25 points, and that's not going to happen. So I think if Washington lose their game, which we will get to, then the winner of this game is likely the Cowboys. I'm taking the Cowboys. I'm taking them on the spread because I think -2.5, this is probably more than a safety game. So I'm taking them on the spread, but I do like the over on this one because I think this is one that quite easily the Cowboys could put up 30, which there's an employed points total of 14.5 for the Giants, so I'll take that all day.
Under over being 44.5 on that one, of course.
Yeah, definitely rolling with that over. Happy with that all day long. I think, this Cowboys team there, you've got Dalton now clicking with all the weapons he's got there. It's turned into a bit of a two-headed sort of backfield there, two-headed monster with Pollard and Zeke. And Zeke's starting to step up. He's not at what he was, but he's cut out the silly mistakes, the fumbles, all that sort of thing. You're seeing a few big breakaway plays from him. He's starting to get back there. But then also, when you see Pollard out there now, teams have to respect him because this Cowboys offense has shown he's dangerous as well. He can put a game on his back if it was just him out there. All the receiving talent they've got, they're pretty set. And Dalton, he's clicking with them all. He's getting on the same page. This is the team I want to see in the playoffs out of any team in this division. I think they could make it the most exciting. Their defense is quietly getting it together compared to what it was at the start. It was the worst in the league. It was horrendous. They've gradually started to figure that out. Still not great, but it's better. And I think, this Giants team are just going to fall short. I think it's as much as we can say, they're about to be in the playoffs potentially. They also could be the third pick in the draft. If other teams below them win. I just don't think they've got enough there. If Saquon was still playing, you could say, you know what, maybe he steps up and says, I'm going to do everything I can here. But I just don't think there's anyone now in that Giants offense, not really even in the defense, that's going to be like, right, lights are brightest, this is when it matters, I'm going to show up today. And I think for me, you might get Daniel Jones might try, but I'd almost rather he didn't, because that's probably when he's going to make some mistakes. So I just don't know about that. So I think, definitely rolling with this spread with the Cowboys. And sneaky feeling, I think they're going to sneak in. So I think there's going to start to be a little bit for me here where they are playing for Dak. Once they start to get this offense going, that's playing football, and especially if they can end up in the playoffs. But these big games, there's going to be that little bit of the rest of the team feel like they should be there, but kind of wanting to do it for him, show what they can do. And I don't know, I think as someone's around an injured player, you get that, especially one as important and as quite popular in that locker room. Don't really hear a lot of bad things like players being like, I can't stand that.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be that sort of brotherhood sense coming into this, and they're just going to want to get there.
It's also a great audition for Dalton.
Yeah.
Just because Dalton's probably never going to be a long-term starter again, right? He's been in the league nearing 10 years. But, I mean, how many big contracts or how many decent-sized contracts has Fitzpatrick made over the last 5 years, going places as backup? And the reason people keep signing him is because you know that Fitzpatrick is a backup that if you need him to come in, you've always got a shot of winning a game. If Mason Rudolph's your backup, you don't think, if Big Ben goes down, we've still got that's not our season over. But with Dalton, if he can come out, get them to the playoffs, and show that he can still put a team in a shot to win, then he can win himself some good backup deals. Maybe he does win himself a starting gig somewhere, but he will win himself a lot of money over the next 3-4 years.
Yeah, certainly one of the better backups in the league, if not the best. So
just needs a bit more time than Fitzmagic. Fitzmagic seems to be able to come into a game as a backup and just be lights out straight away. Dalton, maybe it's unlucky with all the circumstances this year, and it's a small sample size, but he does seem a bit slower to get rolling.
Yeah,
it's only his second.
Exactly, that's the thing. It's only a Fitzpatrick has done it again and again and again. I think Dalton will be around for a few more years. I think he's shown enough now at the tail end of this. Who knows? It might even be that Jerry just says, you know what, we'll keep him around here. We don't know. Let's say they pay Dak. Keep him around behind him because you don't know what Dak's going to come back like.
Yeah.
How this injury is going to affect him long term, because it can sometimes be a psychological thing. He might go to break out the pocket again, and suddenly he's.
Yeah, you do see it happen.
You don't. It's happened before. Players can get in their own heads with bad injuries like that. So I think Dalton should stick around. I think if I'm Jerry Jones, I'm thinking about keeping him there.
Yeah,
why give someone else a boost?
It makes Cowboys better, and that's all they want. I think at the end of the day. But interesting matchup nonetheless, and. Unfortunately, the Washington game happens afterwards as well for these guys, so they won't find out.
We sat there watching.
2 hours, which is quite interesting for them. But let's shift things on once more. And let's talk about the Vikings going to play the Lions. Both teams nothing to play for. Both are out. Anything to look for in this game? Or
Yes, the end of the game.
End of the game.
No, taking the Vikings. They're the better team. The Lions have been bad.
Yeah.
It's a tricky one because this is one that you can't even say. I don't think either of these teams are particularly weak in terms of talent. I think they've both got a fair amount of talent. They're both going to have relatively high draft picks, kind of mid-rounds and stuff. Lions could be picking top 10, which would be great for them. But I don't think either of them are going for quarterbacks. I think they're both set. Stafford's shown that he's still the guy. Stafford is still an elite quarterback in the league. He is. He's just got injury issues. But he's that good. You've got the guy. Put stuff around him. Their issue's been their defense really this year has been terrible. So they need to fix that. But in terms of this game, not much to play for. It's a tricky one to bet on because there's nothing to pay for. It's kind of like that Bengals-Texans game is the kind of game you don't know. It could be low scoring because no one cares, or they could just go, let's go out and have some fun. But I'll just go. The Vikings have been the better team this year, so I'm going to take the Vikings. Not sure I like the spread of 6.5 because again, it's one of those games that's so hard to predict. But I love the over in this just because that Lions defense has been so bad.
I think there's two factors for this. Obviously, Dalvin Cook, news came out today, family emergency, he's not playing, which will limit this Vikings team. Then on the Lions side, you've got a lot of players that are actually auditioning for sort of whoever comes next, whatever happens in this off-season, there's spots to be played for, and a lot of these guys aren't going to want the last image of them this year being getting absolutely torched by the Bucs, like relentlessly in that first half. Like there's some ways, if that's their last bit of tape, or their last meaningful bit of tape,
it's not good.
It's not looking good for you going into this off-season, albeit there was barely a coaching staff. It was the worst circumstances to try and play football under, but still not a good look. So I think these Lions players are going to come out saying, right, we want to end this on a bit more of a positive. I think in terms of the draft for them, who knows, maybe they do pull the trigger if they're top 10 on a quarterback to learn behind Stafford. We've seen it work before. Who knows how Stafford is in that role. But say, all right, we're going to have a little play around with this and put someone behind him. See it, maybe it accelerates him, or we realise, hang on, we've got a stud here. Sorry, Stafford. Who knows? There's going to be plenty of time to talk about that down the line.
Yeah, there is.
But even Stafford's auditioning. Even he is still... There's still stuff for him to prove. Who knows if he plays? He did go out injured last week. Do they mess around with it? We don't know. But that's not what he's going to want the last memory of him being when a new regime comes in. So I think I'll take the Vikings. I'm not betting on this game at all. Why go near it? Like I think it could be a fun one to watch. It's two potentially explosive, exciting teams, but keep my money away from it. If I've got to pick, I'll pick Vikings. Wouldn't be surprised if it's the Lions. Yeah,
I'm the same as you as well. Stay away from it. Nothing to play for, so who knows what will happen. Vegas have got this down as 54.5 on the under-over, so they expect it to be a high-scoring game, but it's just another one I'm staying away from as well, just for the same reasons as we just mentioned there. But maybe let's talk about a game that has a bit more relevance, perhaps. The last 6 p.m. game this week, the Falcons going to play the Buccaneers. Now, this game actually means quite a bit to the Buccaneers because a win here would secure the number 5 seed, which would then mean that they play the winner of the NFC East, which
could be pretty important.
Yeah, it could be almost as close to a bye as you can have without having a bye at that point. So do you reckon they can do it, Matt, in division against the Falcons? What's
intriguing for me here is Arians came out today from Good Morning Football saying it's just Super Bowl or bust. Sort of back to what we were hearing at the start of the season. Sort of no one mentioned the Super Bowl for all these weeks until we've got to the playoffs. I think it's the right attitude to have. I think the offense, a lot of things a few weeks ago I was saying, we don't look well coached. They're not utilising Brady, what he's done best. Traditionally, it's like Frankenstein's monster offense. It finally seems to be clicking, and yes, it's been against bad teams, but the way we've put up the points, what we've been allowing it to do, a bit more pre-snap motion, a bit more of what Brady likes, as opposed to where Arians been a bit more post-snap. They're leaning on the strengths, and I think that's good to see. So I think this is a game where probably see the starters come out up at first, start strong, keep that offense fluid, keep everyone out there playing together, keep the familiarity, but Brady won't play the whole game. Why risk it? Gronk won't play the whole game, because at the end of the day, as big as it could be to get that 5th seed, this is a team that's going in there being like, we want to take on anyone. We want to be in the Super Bowl. To do that, you're going to have to beat good teams at some point.
Yeah.
So I don't think they risk keeping some of these players out there. Like, what's the point? I think for me, this is a bit more test. It's the Falcons' defense have looked better than probably some of the others we faced. I mean, that Lions defense wasn't a defense, not on their own fault. No one was really calling plays. It was a nightmare. So I think they're going to want to come out against a bit more of a test, keep the offense fluid, keep practicing what they're obviously working on, and then partway through you'll see Blaine Gabbert come in, bench him off, because if we win, great. If not, we're going to have to play good teams anyway. Yeah. Let's get it done early. Let's have a meaningful wildcard round game.
It's also a team that kind of relies on some stars.
Oh,
so
yeah.
this is not a team. I don't think this is a team that if Mike Evans goes out, that makes me question how well they can do going forward. If Tom Brady goes out, that makes me question how well they can do going forward. So when there's not that much to play for, and especially like Matt said, with Bruce Arians coming out and saying it's Super Bowl or bust. With Tom Brady don't care who he plays, right?
Yeah.
He's been there, he's seen it, he's got 6 t-shirts or rings.
Rings, yeah.
I was going to say, more importantly, rings.
If they're going in with that mindset, then it doesn't matter who you play next week, because at some point, if it's Super Bowl or bust, you've got to beat the best team in the division to get there. Yeah. So they could play the Saints the week after. They don't care. So I do agree with Matt. I think the starters will get out there because I think they need a run out. I think this is an offense that we've seen it this season when they took a week off, they came back. They looked rusty. They looked like they had some time off. I think they're still clicking, and it's very much an offense that hasn't got everything sorted out. And they've actually this season only looked very good against bad teams, like Matt said. So it will be important to keep that going. But I think they'll pull players. And I think the Falcons do this every year, that it seems to be, that where they start off terribly and then they come back and they put up loads of points. At the end of the day, the Falcons have got some great weapons. Calvin Ridley is playing at a Pro Bowl level, all-pro level. He's playing really well. Matt Ryan's a Hall of Fame quarterback. And if you pull all of the stars from this Bucs team and you put in the backups, they're not an incredibly deep team. So I actually think the Falcons win this game. Just because I think at half-time we could be seeing, right, okay, it's not worth it. Put the backups out there and give up this one, because really we're looking to next week.
So the spread looks even more favourable for you then. At -6 in favour of the Bucs, and +6 for the Falcons.
Yeah.
I think you maybe see reverse game script to last time. I think Mike Evans may only be out there, get him to that 1,000-yard mark. Get him that, and then I think you're going to see a lot of, for maybe some of the more second, third strings. We all know there's bonuses in contracts. There's going to be an element of this of, right, we've already secured the playoffs, and I think this is going to run throughout the league. You see it quite often in week 17, them trying to get certain players the ball, because within that huddle they're like, "Come on, mate, give me that ball and I get $100,000." That sort of thing. So that's what I think you'll see quite a bit from the Bucs and from Mike Evans. Yeah, get him that 1,000 receiving yards. He's thinking playoffs. Like players like Levante David, they want to be able. They're not going to want to risk their boys and be out there, because he's waited a long time to be in a playoff game with his team. So I think the Falcons as well, they're going to want to avenge that loss. They Falconsed it up a bit against us last time. It was the same, like when you see Brady sat like that against the Falcons, head down, you know, a comeback's coming. I think you probably see the flip. I think we start hot, put up some points, pull the starters, see what happens after that, and Matt Ryan brings it back. They get the win. They can end their seasons. Not really happy, but like at least we ended on a win.
Yeah, 5-11.
Yeah.
What gives, isn't it?
Probably not going to bet on this one again, though, because it all comes down to when they bench people. Because the Bucs could come out and say, right, we want that 5th seed. Starters are in the whole game, and we look good. Could also be we put them partway through. Too much could go on with this. For me to go near it.
Yeah, it's a good point. Very good point. Well raised there. But we've got another game here. 9:25 kick off this one. The Titans and the Texans. The Titans just need to get a win here to get into playoffs. That's all they got to do. And of course, the Texans are out, 4-11. Should have the 5th pick or it is in the draft. Not going to have it.
Currently, it's at the 3rd.
Third pick. There you go. Even worse.
They're definitely picking top 5 though, because the
I believe
Dolphins, I believe, of now, because they've got that pick from the Tunsil trade, and I'm pretty sure they're definitely picking top 5.
I think I read something similar.
In which case, that's pretty.
I mean, imagine being the Dolphins sat. You've got your guy, you've got a championship defense, you've got a lot of young talent on offense, and you've got a top 5 pick.
That would be
in first and second round as well. Like we've seen top end of second round, you can get some great talent, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But for Deshaun Watson, he sat there. I'm going to butcher the name, but top tackle in the draft is like Pennell or something. I can't remember his name.
Panay from Penn State.
I think basically.
Oregon.
Yeah, Oregon. If you're Deshaun Watson and you're seeing that your team could have been sat there and taken what looks like a very good tackle, but instead they traded away a lot of pieces. I think he's going to need another good bit of your O-line.
And the thing that's painful for him as well,
don't like it.
He's statistically
great
like
season.
the third best quarterback in the league. I mean, what he's putting up like all Pro Bowl level statistics on a team that is terrible. And this team, I think this year without Deshaun Watson, worse than the Jets. Like they're really that bad.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson is that good, and his team is that bad. So you've got to feel for him. The thing this game to me feels like a nothing game just because I think the Titans win it, because I think the Titans are the better team.
Yeah.
The issue I have with the Titans is the way in which they got beat in Green Bay. Like, that game is a game that screams, right, you're a team that is built to run the ball, you're playing in the snow, you've got a big bruising back who should be hard to tackle, and they got slapped all over the field.
Yeah.
The Packers were just that much better. Going into January, when you're potentially going to have to go to Kansas City and play in those conditions, or you're going to have to go up against a Steelers defense in Pittsburgh in those conditions, that worries me going forward. That they need to fix that, because if they play like they did against Green Bay, then I don't think they've got a shot in the AFC.
No, not at all. This is a Titans team that there's almost two versions of. And they either come out and contend with pretty much anyone, or you think, oh, how they got to that record? Yeah. Like, you see some games from them, and some just feels off.
Yeah.
I think when they come out in the playoffs, I think just everything they've got there, it'll be the right version of this Titans team. We've seen it, especially for this game specifically. Whenever the Titans have had a bad game this year, they tend to bounce back quite well. Whether it's, and I mean, normally you'd say, oh, it's one part of the offense didn't click. Here it was both parts didn't look great. So you can guarantee one part of this offense is going to come back. And if it's Derrick Henry against this Texans team, it's going to be ugly. But Tannehill as well, when he gets what he needs in this system, he torches teams. So I think they're going to easily go through it. I think at -7.5, I'm taking that all day.
Yeah.
This can be a big bounce back. The over, less so, because you could just see the Texans.
56.5 is huge.
Deshaun Watson, as much as he's great, they might not put up a ton of points, because this Titans defense might also want a bounce back game after getting absolutely just run through.
But the Titans defense is
Can be leaky.
is maybe the worst defense in the league at pressuring the quarterback. And if you can't put pressure on Deshaun Watson, there aren't many quarterbacks in the league that can get outside the pocket and make things happen better than him. And if the pressure isn't there, he can dissect a team.
Yeah,
could see happen. Yeah.
And who knows? The Titans could get up and just pull some players.
Yeah, that's the thing with this game week, isn't it? You never know.
Week 17 is a nightmare, I think, for betting, even prop bets.
Yeah, betting, fantasy. I mean, there's a reason fantasy finishes
early.
Yeah,
exactly.
This is exactly the reason.
You can't really bet on this, but I don't think there'll be any pulling in this game, because it is you've got to win the game.
Yeah, you've got
to hammer it away, and we've seen it enough times this season where teams have thought they're down and out, and especially against someone like Deshaun Watson, you can be down three scores, and inside of 5 minutes, suddenly it's a 1-score game, and your starters are back in. So I reckon they just run the ball out. But
all I mean is what you might see is them leaning away from Derrick Henry. I think it's McKinnon in the backfield there. He's looked good when he's played.
Yeah,
he can still move the ball. So I think maybe they don't not necessarily pull players, but just limit that workload. But
ease off them a little
I
bit,
think at times they'll make it. They'll get in, and I still have my same opinion on them. On any given day, they can take a game to a team. They can be down by 3 scores, and if I'm going to bet on a team to pull it back in the second half, outside of maybe the Bucks, because the Brady factor.
Bias.
Brady's had a career doing it. But
Titans
so
need.
Titans.
I mean, because we've got 4 teams in the FC right in the hunt that basically it's supposedly win and you're in. Like the Colts, they need to win. The Titans, they need to win. But there's only 3 wildcard spots, right?
I think the Colts need the Titans to lose, don't they? Because of the direct on the.
I think so. Yeah.
So if the Titans win, they're just in.
Well, depending on what the Dolphins and the other teams do. Yeah, Titans win, they're in. End of. Same with the Dolphins. I think the Colts are relying on someone else losing and then winning.
Yeah, that's it.
I was going to say, because I think the Browns win and in, or Colts lose and they're in.
I think the Colts are the team that
need other things to happen.
Yeah, it's out of their hands.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Colts is out of their hands basically.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's something to do with the Ravens are involved in that one as well, I believe.
It'll all be on if any of them have played each other and.
Yeah, it gets a bit more intertwined.
Because the Ravens will struggle as well. If the Browns win, there'll be things they need to happen, won't they? Because they'll be. Actually, will they? Oh, I love this time.
I think everyone's winning in except the Colts, because the Colts need other teams to lose.
Well, that can't be right though, because you've got the Titans. That would mean Titans, Ravens, Browns, and.
Oh no, that top 3 is Titans, Dolphins, and Browns
Are winning in.
I think are all winning in.
So there's only 4 teams across that are still a chance but not winning in. Colts, Cardinals, Cowboys and Giants.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So from that side.
Yeah.
Read into it.
Those
Colts.
three
Let's
are
go.
winning.
Titans win, you're in.
See what
Lock it
happens.
up.
See.
Lock it up.
Exciting games ahead.
And maybe a few issues in the Texans' locker room as well. As JJ Watt has come out.
It's really hard to interpret that, I think, because I think I've seen a lot of different, depending on like whose kind of post of it you read. There's a number of different, whether it's internal, external, whether it means it to the league in general, to just like, I think it's just someone who's frustrated, has been kind of, he should be playing games that matter, and he's just not been for what feels like a while.
Yeah.
And they're trading away the pieces that should get them there, and they seem to have traded talent to end up in a position not to be able to get any more talent, which normally the reason you trade your talent is to get more, younger.
Yeah.
So I can understand
It's
it.
sold high, but at a really low price. It doesn't make any
It
sense.
doesn't make any sense, yeah. But I read it the
Yeah.
opposite way, to be fair. I thought it was him calling out players, just not naming them.
Potentially,
But
it
that's why
definitely
I
could
thought
be.
maybe there's a few issues in the locker room. But who knows? Who knows? I'd love to be a fly on the wall.
I think that would be a really interesting off-season team.
He wants out.
Yeah.
He said he's not interested in a rebuild. He's at the wrong end of his career to have any
Steelers,
part in that.
anybody?
To have the reunion
Triple
of
Watts?
yeah, that is. I would love to see that happen.
Cool, it's tempting.
Be
But
scary defense next year, wouldn't it?
God.
If it had JJ Watt on there as well.
I think at this point as well, he's the type of player that he's made enough money. He'll take less than he deserves.
Yeah.
Just to be able to compete.
He's enough
at
as
this
a
point.
personality as well. He's very good on the camera. It wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't end up in a booth. I don't think he'll ever struggle for money.
Yeah, it'll be
Not
alright.
at all. Not at all.
But either way, interesting comments coming out from the Texans and one to watch going forward as well. Back to the football. Jaguars are playing the Colts. Jags officially on the clock, first round pick. Who would have thought that a few weeks ago with the way the Jets were playing. But Colts need to win and other results go their way, as we just mentioned. Do you reckon they'll be disappointed to miss out, perhaps?
Oh, massively. Massively. I saw everything they did in terms of bringing in Rivers as well. Everything was geared around, we want to be there now. It's win now sort of thing. Albeit, yeah, they've got the pieces, they've got the players there to say they could be around for a while. They're still in a win now mode, and because picking up an old quarterback like that, they're not giving someone time to develop. And I think they're going to come out, they're going to win this game. I mean, the Jags, they're not even playing Minshew. I think he'd be the only guy that would make me think maybe they do something here, because he's trying to fight for that job, kind of do what he's always done, been a backup, end up in bad spots and come out somewhere winning it. I think Trevor Lawrence might be a step too far for that one.
Yeah.
Maybe, if you put him on paper.
Trevor Lawrence
Yeah.
is pretty good.
Quite a good quarterback,
Yeah.
that Trevor Lawrence. Maybe generational.
I'm just really looking forward to all of the like the weeks and when everyone says to the GMs, "Oh, who are you picking?" They're like, "Oh, we still haven't decided," and they always do it up to like the second they go, "Oh, we're still not sure." It's like, come on, you decided this the second you're on the clock. It's like, it's the easiest first round pick. It's like, brilliant. We don't even need to do our first round board because we just figure out who's left in the second round. We know we're taking Trevor first. Like,
I think it could all, maybe they go the other way. Do the what sort of Bengals and Burrow did. That was public knowledge early doors. He had the playbook before he was drafted by some accounts. Like, I think that's what we see here. I think that they're not. Why make a secret of it? It's pretty obvious. Unless for some reason they're overthinking this, which teams have done it before. They've got way too in their own heads. Like, they've sat there and gone, but maybe this guy, maybe he's our guy. No, just
Penny Sewell would be great on that O-line.
just like lock it up.
Pass on Trevor Shannon.
Yeah.
boys.
Jags fans, buy your jerseys now.
It's the big brain play.
Get it done. I mean, the Colts win this game, I think, without a doubt,
100%.
and maybe they do take. It's a massive spread. I'm not going to bet on it, 13.5, but I could see them clearing that quite comfortably, because I think they're going to come out and want to be so lights out that they don't leave anything on the field, any chance of it. Score as many points as you can. Who knows how all the different things are going to break down? Just do everything you can
Within your power, yeah.
to put yourself in a
Leave
great
it on
spot.
the field.
Yeah.
As the cliche goes.
They were all on the field. Definitely the case for the Colts. But yeah, I think you're right. It's Colts easy money for this one.
Yeah.
I don't see it any other way. So let's shift things on to a game of no relevance at all between the Raiders and the Broncos. Both teams officially done for the year. Can't make playoffs. Can't do anything. Just playing for draft picks at this point. Anything in particular looking forward from this game, or looking forward to the game maybe?
Drew Lock, I think, here knows his head is sort of on a little bit of a chopping block. They've put all the weapons around him, albeit injuries. It's not been a good season for the Broncos. But then he's had a lot of weapons kind of come out of the woodwork and say, well, hold on, there's still guys to throw the ball at. So like Tim Patrick has looked like a good NFL wide receiver. Jerry Jeudy is settling in. So I think he's in a difficult spot here. And I think he comes out, tries too hard, and doesn't look good this game. I think he tries too much to be that gunslinger, to throw the ball downfield, to have a highlight reel game. And the Raiders just have one of those games where they look good. Yeah. And they finish 8-8. As I think a lot of people before the season were saying, this is either going to be a team that goes all the way to like the playoffs and looks good, or it's just 8-8. It depends. Can they carry on? Can they actually have the consistency? They can't at this point. It's not there for them. And they're probably going to come out, draft slightly off the wall, a bit unexpected, be that wild card in the draft, but do all right with it and go into next season. And who knows? Probably be 8-8 again.
Yeah.
But
Consistent.
I think potentially we see a bit of Mariota in this game. See what you've got there. One of the better backups in the league. See what he's doing. Derek Carr has looked good this season, but has also at points looked not great in a couple of games. He hasn't shown that for a whole season, disappointingly.
Painful.
And I think, the Raiders come out, take this, just have a bit. They're the better team. And the Broncos are suddenly sat in a spot, I think, we're left with a bit of a sour taste in their mouth with Drew Lock at the end of this season, staring at a pick where potentially you can get a guy. And do they come out and try it again? Because at this point, though, it's got to be Elway's last chance. Either Lock has to work, or this next guy, he'll get one more shot at this.
I see. I'm less certain. I think because I actually think Drew Lock. I still believe in Drew Lock, and I think he's got the talent. He's got the arm strength. And I think he's the kind of guy that would get another opportunity somewhere.
Oh, without a doubt.
And I think he will find some success. Maybe not as a great starter, but he's the kind of guy that could have an 8-year career in the league and back up some places, and he'll get a couple starting jobs. Kind of like Case Keenum, really. Bit of a gunslinger. Will keep getting jobs. Can win games, but needs a lot around him. That kind of thing. This is more important, really, for John Elway going forward, because I think his time's done now. John Elway, when you actually look at him, look, they had a good draft last year. They drafted a lot of good young players that are going to set them up well. But the biggest thing that they've had, the issue they've had, because after they won that Super Bowl, they had a championship level defense for another 3 years.
Yeah.
All they had to do was find a quarterback, because the offense didn't change that much. They had productive running backs. They just couldn't get a quarterback. And John Elway has this habit of drafting big, strong kind of John Elway quarterbacks who just aren't that good. And I think maybe this is his last shot, which is why I think he's tied to Drew Lock. So I think they give Drew Lock as much opportunity as possible. But if Drew Lock doesn't turn out, then I think that is Elway on the chopping block, because they've just consistently been very subpar since they won Super Bowl 50.
Yeah,
they felt one off season away for a while.
Yeah, because that's what we said earlier this season, wasn't it?
Yeah, when you were sat there going,
look at them now, it's
the injuries kind of for this season. Yeah. I think because of the injury factor, the COVID factor, everything that's gone on this season, I think that buys Elway this off season and next season, or unless they're dreadful next season, like majority of part of. And I think maybe, who knows, he either does double down again on Drew Lock, or he goes away from his mould and says it's obviously not working, and just kind of leans more on his scouts, more on the guys he's got in the building. And if a quarterback sat there and they're all saying, you know what, I think this guy could be better than Lock, take him and
take the risk.
Do what a lot of teams have tried this with players kind of similar to Lock. Light a fire under him and say, all right, you've got a competition now. This is not just your job. You've got, and because to me, my issue over Drew Lock, I think he's Jameis Winston with a lower ceiling in the NFL in terms of how he perform. I just think he's too inconsistent with the ball. You can't trust him with the ball. And he'll make a couple good throws. He's shown us character, he's dancing great, be a personality on the field. But you've got to be good enough to do that. I think he spends too much time with being that personality and being a bit quirky on the field, when in reality, just focus on being a good quarterback for a bit, mate. You haven't made it in the league yet. You haven't shown, your record probably is more leaning towards you're a bust.
You're also a second round pick.
Walk away
it's
quiet.
Much easier when a team has invested like the difference in investing a first round pick. The difference between 32 and 33 is outrageous, because if you've got it's very hard to move on from a first round pick. Very, very hard, because it's embarrassing. Second round pick, people go, oh, he's only a second round pick. See how easily the Browns moved on from Deshaun Kaiser. They gave him a year. Deshaun Kaiser was thrown to the wolves in his first year. He had no chance to be successful. And then afterwards, they had a shot at another quarterback, and they went, on sling your hook, mate. You're done. That was through no fault of his own. He was never given the shot, but he was a second round pick, so it didn't matter. If Deshaun Kaiser had been the 30th overall pick, they'd have had to give him another year because he was a first round pick. Like, it's so unusual for teams to just move on from a first round pick. That being said, teams do it.
Yeah.
I mean,
sometimes you have to.
It's happened just this week.
Yeah.
We'll get to that later, but it has
exactly.
happened just this week. And I think that's what saves Elway, though, the second round pick factor.
Yeah.
That he can walk away. And I think they gave him one more just because it's Elway.
And he has drafted well the last couple
Outside
of
of
years. You've got a couple of great players.
Yeah.
Chubb's turning out to be great.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Jerry Jeudy looks like a good pick. KJ Hamler looks like a good pick. You've got a couple of linemen they've taken that look good. Garrett Bowles is finally kind of coming into looking like a starting player where he looked on the ropes as a bust. So he has drafted relatively well, but the quarterback's the issue. And if you don't have a quarterback in the league, you can't win games.
It's unfortunate it's the big position that you've got to get right.
That's why it's paid the most.
Yeah, but Drew Lock walking interception at this point, isn't he? So
Yeah, this is the problem. I think when he plays knowing, which I think the latter part of the season, he knows he's not secure in this spot, and he hasn't looked good for any of it.
Yeah.
I think it's past the point now where you can blame it on the injuries. I think the start of the season, obviously he was injured, there was injuries all around him, fine. But now he's had enough weeks to get on a page with a talented set of weapons still.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't look good. He is the problem in this offense at the moment. As much, it's sort of, there is an air of it of that Baker conversation. It's easy to pick out him as the problem. But I think with this one, it's rightly so.
Yeah.
More clean cut than the Baker one, I'd say.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because Baker has a ceiling to it. Like, when he does play well, Baker is a franchise guy.
Yeah.
Drew Lock, when he
He's
does,
not shown it yet. He
Yeah.
might
arguably
do
could
it, but
be.
he might
You think it's there, but he's always been this guy that will he fulfill his potential? Which Jameis was for years. Will he cut down on the picks? Will he become what he was in college? No. Normally it doesn't happen.
To be fair to Drew Lock, I would say he's in a similar spot to what I thought Josh Allen was in after Josh Allen's second year. But the difference is Josh Allen, on occasion, flashed something incredible, and Drew Lock hasn't. So, I mean, that's the only thing for this game for me to look for is, right, can he flash something? But other than that, this is a bit of a nothing game.
Yeah, bit of nothing game, and betting on it for me, like we said for the past ones, I'm sort of...
I think
Stickler.
I'd bet Raiders this one, just to see him at 8-8. I think it's almost kind of
Poetic.
it's written.
Yeah.
Raiders 8-8. Done.
Yeah, maybe.
We've been saying that from weeks back. I think there was times after the Chiefs game, it was like, oh, maybe they go further. Then the next week didn't look great. We're like, right, 8-8 team in. That's what this is.
Yeah.
So.
Each their own, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm staying well away.
You placing any bets this week,
It
James?
doesn't seem like it, but
I'm sure you will, though.
that's week 17 for us, all I'll say. But another matchup here, the Chargers and the Chiefs. Chargers are done.
Mm-hmm.
Chiefs are already in, and with the number 1 seed. Should the Chiefs rest up players at this point for this game?
I would.
Yeah, I think why would you not?
Having said that, you've got the bye. Taking 2 weeks off, it's not unusual for teams that have buys, and you take 2 weeks off. It's very hard to come back when you've not played live football. So maybe we see them come out and they get a run out and they play the first half. The starters play. Couple things on the cards here for some of these players. I mean, you never know if Patrick Mahomes turns around and says, "Look, get me on that field," because he wants to go out and have a crack at throwing 5 touchdowns and give himself a shot at the MVP.
Yep.
Maybe he does.
Oh, I've just actually seen something pop up. Andy Reid has said Patrick Mahomes won't play this week.
Never mind.
So there we go. The answer is yes. The Chiefs should rest their
Yes,
players.
in which case, I think the Chargers probably will win this game, because on the flip side, you've got, if Justin Herbert is playing, he'll go out and throw a couple of touchdowns. He's already broken the rookie record for passes. This is his shot to win the Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think what might not necessarily be the most deserved. I think what Justin Jefferson's done has been very impressive. I mean, Justin Jefferson has had a all-time career at a position that is very, very tricky to do that in your rookie year. That being said, Justin Herbert's a quarterback. So, I mean, if he comes out and he's thrown 30 touchdowns and he turns his team around, yes, he will probably win it. But the Chiefs, if they're resting their players, then it's a nothing game.
Yeah.
That's fair. I think, Chargers, I think, especially without Mahomes being out there, I think they take this just like, Herbert wants to lock it up and say, win that award. I think maybe he slightly more deserves it than Jefferson, because Jefferson's sort of just come into that Diggs role. He's almost kind of had quite an easy path to what he needs. Then again, maybe so has Herbert. He got it by quite weird circumstances. But I think just the way he's come out and played, and even when this team was told you got nothing to play for, why does it matter? He still looked good.
Yeah.
I think I think he deserves it. I think it normally does kind of air towards quarterbacks, that kind of thing, especially when they've come out and set records for touchdowns. Things like that. That's normally quite a big deal.
Yeah,
that sort of stat is quite important.
Especially when he missed a lot of games at the start as well.
Exactly. Imagine if he played a full season as well. He could be looking up towards 40, which then I think it'd lock it up.
Yeah,
done.
Exactly.
How many games would he have played in?
He missed...
He missed
5 games? No, he was starting from week 3, wasn't he?
Was it 3 or something?
3 the puncture, and he's started ever since.
Yeah, it might be actually, yeah.
So I think...
Still missed 2 games, which on his record's probably looking at about 6 touchdowns.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
So he's, So I mean, he would have been getting up near 40.
He's probably on pace for so that's what, because Baker held the record before with 27, and Baker came in week 4, didn't he? So Baker played 12 and a half games because he came in relief, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what Herbert's done has been pretty
incredible. Yeah, I think he deserves it. I think he just comes out, wants to win that. I mean, even the spread is leaning at the Chargers. I think I wouldn't bet with that. I think I'd bet moneyline Chargers just because this could be a weirdly close game. This Chiefs team has got talent in there. Just because Mahomes is out doesn't mean everyone is. Yeah. There's still other players looking for stats records, like Travis Kelce's going to want to play a bit, I think, and just keep boosting those yards. Setting records, setting big sort of thing. So I think you're going to see some players get some play time just to keep them all out there. But I think Chargers take it. 44 over under. I'm looking over on this.
Yeah. I'm happy with that as well. But great timing on that notification.
Yeah, I know. I saw it pop up. I was like, perfect.
Down if they should.
Yeah, I could have gone on for ages about how I think Patrick Mahomes would come out for the end.
Yeah.
Okay, no.
But you can on for ages.
Who would have thought it? Right, back to football. Another matchup this week between the Packers and the Bears. Bears are in a win-in situation as well for this game. But Packers also need to win to get that first round bye.
Lock this up for the Packers.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is currently the MVP of the league. He's the best quarterback in the league this year, I think, in terms of just he's on a page that he's got maybe the best receiver in the league this year. Devontae Adams is leading the league in touchdowns. He is playing outrageously. And this team, they seem to just be pulling out players. This is a team, and this always seems to happen around Rodgers in the sense that he has a lot of not much around him. Then every now and then, when he's not having his best game or when he needs it, someone pops up. AJ Dillon had an insane game at the weekend. He looked great. And when you've got a back of Aaron Jones' quality who goes down, it's not easy for a young guy who doesn't get many carries on the season to come in those kind of conditions and have a game like that. So to know that your backup can do that is great. I think they go in. I think they smash the Bears just because Rodgers isn't going to be afraid of the spotlight. He's played in this game many times. He's played at Soldier Field many times. And they're going to want that first seed. Yeah. I think they go in. I think they smash the Bears. I don't think this is even a competition, really.
Wow.
The Packers are, I think, they're, at this point, to me, best team in the NFC. They're the favourite to be there in the Super Bowl. And deservedly so. Rodgers looks on a complete different level this season. And so does his supporting cast, those players around him. But I think they're doing so because of him. Just the level he's playing on. But I don't know. I've got this weird feeling with this Bears team at the moment that I can't say if I feel like they deserve to be there or not. I think maybe if Foles never comes in, they maybe don't need to get the win in necessarily because they're a bit of a role. But I don't think they're going to make this as easy as much of a walkover for the Packers. I just think there's so much to play for this Bears team. I don't know. I've just got this weird. You have a weird gut feeling on a game. I think the Packers still win it, but I think it's a lot closer than people expect.
So when the spread is sat at -5 over the Packers,
I'll take that all day. I think it's gonna be a blowout. I just don't think the Bears.
I'm not gonna bet on this game because there's too many different factors. The Packers could just come out and it could be an absolute blowout. But also we've seen the Bears slow teams and just kind of rip up what should be the game script and should be like, no, hang on, you're playing our football today, and teams like, hold on. Which I mean. If anyone could deal with that, it's probably Aaron Rodgers. Got a bit of experience against the Bears, but I'm staying away from betting. I think the Packers win, but I won't be shocked if the Bears come out and do something here.
Yeah.
And get themselves there when it matters.
They've got it in him. Mitch has been playing quite well the last few weeks.
He has. He's starting. I mean, it's a small. We've seen quite a bit of him now, but this small sample size of the last sort of week since he came back in and before he got dropped, he's doing what he needs to. And this offense is rolling. What is it? 4 games in a row now with 30 points. I think it's sort of sat on red zone's first time since the 60s that they've managed that. Montgomery looks good. He finally looks like he's maybe feeling that potential. Maybe it's something to do with Tariq Cohen.
Alan Robinson
not being there, stealing stuff. He's getting that workhorse role. He's running himself into games, making it happen. That's what makes me think Bears could, because I feel like they're a slightly different Bears offense to face to what this Packers team's used to.
Yeah.
And there could be that little bit of them coming out being like, the best team in the NFC.
Yeah.
We're going to win this. It's the Bears. We've beaten them time and time again. And then they go, well, hold on, this is a different Bears team, this.
Yeah.
So that's just got a little gut feeling going on.
Sometimes those hunches, they come in.
Probably means Packers by 30.
Yeah.
Packers at this point, you've got that hunch. I'll be taking the Packers for sure. Thank you, Matthew. Right, Saints, Panthers, another matchup this week. Both teams on the opposite sides of the playoff berth. Of course, Saints already in. They've locked up that division. Panthers out. But the Saints could technically still get the first round bye at this point. If
They've got to
go
play
their
like it's on
way.
the table, I think. And
Yeah.
interesting fact, another bit of news that just came out.
Oh,
No McCaffrey, that's not a shock, but no Mike Davis as well for the Panthers.
Right, okay.
That's been sort of what this offense needs when it's looked good, is when
Being
that
on
running
the run
game's
game,
over the
yeah.
place.
Right, okay.
It's not there. I mean, even if the Saints are resting people, you're going to have Taysom or Winston out there. It's an audition for both still.
Yeah.
This Saints team is just the better team at the end of the day. They've got more to play for.
More talent, more everything.
And I think
It's easy
that the
lock,
Panthers
isn't
just don't have what they need there. It's still a young defense that is going to be exploited, I think, here by one of the better offenses in the league. Saints take it. I would take them on the spread at -6.5 happily. Over/under, going to steer clear of, because you don't. This Panthers team could just not do anything.
Yeah.
They could score less than 10, and then it's what happens on the other side of the ball. So, yeah, Saints on the spread. That's what I'm looking for here. Don't think they'll lock up that bye. 'Cause I think the Packers will just scrape through, but they've got to play like they can.
Yeah.
They've got to do like the Colts, do everything you can. So at the end of the day, if you don't make it, can still hold your head high and be like, look, we did everything we could this last week.
Yeah, it's about a 21% chance at this point. So I mean,
Yeah.
there's still a chance they could do it. So why wouldn't they find?
A lot of worse teams the Packers could be playing. That's the thing. Like from the Saints' point of view, they've got to think there's a chance of it. It's not like
Yeah.
someone will be thinking they've got the Jags.
Yeah.
It's done. Like there's no point there. There'll be a little bit of them like, who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely this game. I think it's one of the easy ones to predict this week. Take the Saints on the spread.
One you can bet on finally.
Yeah, finally. We're 12 games in now, whatever it is, 13 games in. We're finally betting on the game.
Big Ackers this
All
week.
of us, yeah. Brilliant to see. Like, next matchup is quite a curious one for me. This is the Cardinals going to play the Rams. Both teams, everything to play for. Of course, Cardinals need to win and other things go their way, but Rams just need to win to get in. Both quarterbacks are likely to miss the game, which is what throws this off for me.
One of these guys is going to have a day, I think.
What's going on here? Yeah.
I don't
Can't
know.
call which. I'm not going anywhere near this game. I think I'm going to definitely have an eye on this game because this is it's weird circumstances, and I think one of these quarterbacks comes out because for either one, it's not like they're in a bad situation. They've got weapons, they've got guys to throw the ball to. They're in good, well coached offenses. So I think one of them's going to come out and look good here. I'd lean off. I think the Rams have just got that bit more, and I feel like Sean McVay's going to have him out there running through walls for him.
Yeah.
I'm sat here thinking about
Cardinals
this
are
now.
still a year
And
away.
this is if you just took the two rosters with potentially both quarterbacks not playing, I'd go, well, I don't know. No idea. But the Rams have got better personnel on defense. I think going up against Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey as someone who's not too prepared at quarterback, with an O-line that's not great against Donald, and that scares me. And ultimately, I agree with Matt. McVay is. I'm not saying Kingsbury's a bad coach at all, but McVay is the better coach. I think McVay will have his guy prepared better, and I think he will be more suited to this situation. So I think the Rams take it. Having said that, I mean, Vegas clearly agrees. A spread of -1 is effectively a lean. Either way, it's money line either way. I wouldn't bet on this game because I think this could easily go either way because with both quarterbacks out, we effectively don't know. So,
One thing I'm taking is the over at 39.5. I actually quite like that because both these teams have a good run game. And with the weapons they've got, there is always a chance. And then both teams to put up 20 points.
Yeah.
I think we see that. They're both can be quite good offensive teams on their day. Cardinals aren't exactly the best of defenses at points, so I think that comes in. But outside of that, I'm not going to really bet on too much else because who knows?
Yeah,
Flip a coin, assign heads and tails to either team. Bet like that maybe. Not the most responsible, but feels
it might work. It's a shame the quarterbacks are injured for this game because it could be them. That's why I just double checked. Actually, the Cardinals just have to win this game, so either team whoever wins this
winning
game now makes playoffs. So Cardinals don't have to rely on anyone else.
Oh.
I think it's got. I still think it's the Rams.
I still think the Rams take
it.
it.
I don't think it makes a difference, but just for context, it's an interesting game.
It's a big game.
Yeah, big game.
Big game, especially for prime time.
Yeah.
Or not quite prime time, but the late game, like one of the later games, late kickoffs. I think this will be a great one to watch.
Yeah, certainly will be. One I'm looking forward to the most, I think. Although with quarterbacks, it might make it.
I think that makes it a little bit more exciting potentially.
Yeah, you get to see two guys you don't normally see.
Both playing for this game could get them another year in the NFL sort of thing, another contract, and just kind of keep them around. Whereas if you come out and look terrible, they kind of know, I'm probably not going to see this again.
Yeah.
So it's everything to play for them, as well as playoffs to play for. Weird situation for them to come into. It's almost make or break for them, isn't it?
It's almost similar to the Nick Foles situation a few years ago. Because if these quarterbacks for the Cardinals and the Rams are out longer, these backups might have to carry them through the playoffs. At which point, Nick Foles.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
If they win,
I mean, I think Goff. I mean, just the money he's on has secured him, and Kyler is Cliff's guy. Yeah. So I mean, I don't think we see a repeat, but I mean, it's there for them. It's happened before.
Run with the backup is what I mean, and then build a statue outside of them. Why not?
Earn them a contract somewhere else, maybe.
Exactly.
Where someone goes, let's pay him whatever stupid money Foles got paid by the Jags. Let's do that. He looked good.
It's painful. That is genuinely, I forgot about that as well until I don't know how. Pains me, but football. Seahawks going to play the 49ers. Seahawks are in. 7% chance of making the first round bye. Need a couple of things to go their way. 49ers are out, well and truly out. Does this game have much relevance at all?
Not in my opinion.
Not really at all. I think you're going to see, I mean, playing at the same time, this Seahawks team's going to kind of know, and if the Packers are blowing out the Bears, I think you see starters pulled. Yeah. I think you don't leave people out there.
If this was me, I wouldn't be playing. There's certain players. Russ, I would not risk an injury
You've got to put yourself in the position, though, in case. If you rested everyone from the first quarter, you get in at halftime and you hear, hold on, the Packers are down, Saints are down, by whatever with the fact there's a chance, if you did that and you benched everyone and you were getting blown out and it's gone, and even when you bring them in, you can't get there, you are going to get crucified.
I think this is I think they're so thin though, and this is the of a team for the teams that are in that first round bye conversation. They are clearly the pretenders. They don't deserve, in my opinion, to be in that first round bye conversation. They're a playoff team. But I don't think they deserve to be there, because I don't think they're. I think when everyone's healthy and everyone's there, they can do that, and they can be that good. But I think they're one of those teams that one or two wrong injuries to the wrong players and your season's done.
Say that for any team.
Yeah, I don't think you could. Like, I think the Titans, for example, I think if Tannehill went down, they'd be able to deal with it much better than if Brady goes down, certain players that are just so key that completely change the offense. Like, some teams can deal, they can adapt. We've seen it before when Peyton Manning went down with the Broncos many years back. Like, your quarterback goes down, and then Brock Osweiler, of all people, they were a team that was set up that even with a quarterback that bad, that he still took them all the way, and they got to the Super Bowl and they won it. Whereas I think if Russ or if DK goes down, like, without DK Metcalf, I don't think the offense can function anywhere near to what they have done this season. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if some players don't get rested, or at least if the Packers are up by 20 in the first quarter,
then yes,
gone.
Because I think there's no way that it's very easy, I think, from outside an organisation to talk about it like that. In that organisation, they're not going to feel like pretenders. They're going to say, we've got to 11-4. We're here for a reason. We have that 7% chance. 7%. They're not going to have that attitude towards it. And you can't, imagine you're that team and it was there on the table, that bye, because the results went your way by whatever miracle.
Yeah.
You've rested, guys. You're suddenly down 20 at half time. You hear that and you're like, we're out, and they can't bring it back. Yeah. You are then limping into the wild card round. There's going to be all kinds of discontent. Everyone's going to be like, why did you rest me? Russ he's not exactly against speaking out against the Seahawks or dropping little hints here. So he's going to be like, what are you doing? Sort of thing. Then you're out in the wild card, and it just turns what could be a really good season for them and one that's a lot of positives into just a nightmare end. So I think there is no way when you have a chance you rest your starters. If you come in at halftime, Packers are winning by a mile, or even Packers and Saints are winning, it's done. fine, then do it. The whole time there's a chance, you cannot.
Yeah, even if it's 1%, I think I'll be all
Yeah.
guns blazing at that point. But
They're there to win. If you were saying by that logic, Pat Mahomes would have been out the second the playoffs were locked up for the Chiefs, or Big Ben would have been out. Why did he play last week? Teams don't think along that lines most of the time.
No, I get that.
It's easy to say, I think, from the side, they should do this, but it's not that easy.
I think when you've got a small percent,
It's still a chance.
I personally, the way I would approach it is just because I think they are one of the few teams in the league that are 1 or 2 injuries away from being a bad team, whereas there are other teams. The Steelers showed all last year that they could be an 8-8 team without anyone playing quarterback. And that's pretty much the same Steelers team. Like this Steelers team, in my opinion, even with Big Ben playing badly like he has been, they deserve to be in the playoffs. They are a good team. They're well coached. They're deep. They've got players at almost every position. I don't think you could say anywhere near that for the Seahawks, and I think the Seahawks have been propped up by having a couple of players who have just played out of their minds, and having Russell Wilson, who, yes, he's had bad games, but he's still one of the best 3 quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah. I don't think you can argue against that, but different mindsets maybe. We'll go into that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Different people.
Glass half full, glass half empty.
Different strokes, different folks.
Any other cliches we got there, lads?
No, not from me. Right, last game of the week. It's actually quite a big one.
Massive.
For the NFC East especially, and maybe even the Buccaneers at this point. Washington football team going to play the Philadelphia Eagles. Washington just need to win, but just got rid of Haskins, just release Haskins, and Smith potentially out injured. Do we fancy the Washington football team still?
It sounds like Taylor Heineke's going to start.
I think there's going to be a little bit of this of it's pure game time decision. I think to an extent, if there is even a bit of them that think Smith could go here,
they will.
Yeah,
I think they've got to when playoffs is on the line. But more what I'm looking at, it's all down to the quarterbacks this game, and I think Jalen Hurts after last week knows, okay, I'm not suddenly the new golden boy of Philly, because he had a game that looked a lot like some of Wentz's this year. He has to come out of this game, and it's not an easy task against this Washington defense, but he has to come out and light it up and show what we saw the first 2 games. Otherwise, you go into this offseason saying, flip a coin, pick a quarterback. Hang on, we've got the money in Wentz. Sorry, mate. Because
prime time as well. Everybody's watching you.
Yeah.
Exactly, and we said it before, 2nd round pick. They could just walk away from Hurts at some point. I think he's one of those guys. He'd end up somewhere else. But they got all the money in Wentz. You've had a bad game. If you finish on another bad game,
you lose yourself to the
you
job.
throw another couple picks. I think it's still, this whole offseason, it's a competition between the two. But I think if he has another bad game here, you see both of them around at the start of next season.
Yeah,
I think it can. If you're Philly, you cannot do anything rash if he's had basically 50-50. Too good, too bad. So I think he's going to come out and he knows he's got to play lights out football. I think especially if Alex Smith doesn't start, we've kind of seen what this Washington team is. They lose. Because I think Hurts will do it. I have a feeling he's going to be one of those guys that sort of rises to the occasion when he has to. He is still young though. He's going to have bad games. All rookie quarterbacks do at some point. But I think this one, just the way it seems lined up, I think Washington just aren't going to quite be there.
Yeah.
I think they're going to just fall short.
It's a really interesting one for me because this Washington team, they've just moved on from Dwayne Haskins, 2019 15th overall pick. That's a very bold move that quickly. Like, I know this coaching staff didn't have the ties to him, so it's easier for them.
Yeah.
Much easier for them to turn around and go, well, we didn't pick him. Off you go. And I think they're probably quite thankful that he made the decisions he made because he made it less about football and more about culture and stuff like that. Which, especially in Washington at the moment, everything has to be about culture in that building. You've got so many issues from the preseason in the last 50 years in Washington and the issues you've had there. That the second he came out and did that, he wrote his death warrant. Like that, he was gone. Right.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, it's like, see you later. What's going to be really interesting here is what they do at that position going forward. Because with Alex Smith this year, right, with that defense, which is a good defense, Alex Smith, they've got good weapons offensively. Scary Terry is a top-level wide receiver one in this league. He can do it, and he's done it with a whole array of quarterbacks in his short career. But Alex Smith, in my opinion, he's not the future there. Like he can get them to the playoffs this year, and he might be able to win them a game. But I don't think any of us think that they're a real contender this year, and I don't think going forward with Alex Smith, we really think he's the future. So with them just straight away going, right, we're done with Haskins, that's really interesting going forward, because Washington suddenly, they're not going to be picking high, but Washington suddenly becomes a really interesting landing spot for any veteran quarterback who fancies a shot at a job.
Yeah,
I think they go another route. They might be picking high, but they're still going to be picking around middle of the draft. They're 6-9. If they lose this, 6-10, you're not going to be picking at the wrong end. Albeit it sounds weird because they're talking about playoffs. They're still not picking well. They're a negative team. Have we seen Alex Smith coach up a good young quarterback before? Have him sit behind him, come out on $500 million?
Yes, granted.
So
yes.
I think if I'm them, I'm thinking, right, find a guy we like, a couple of options, maybe someone who needs to sit like a Kyle Trask, a guy like that, who there's a lot of interesting facts about. Name escapes me, kicking out of Alabama as well. Mac Jones, not a massive sample size. He's not going to be going in amongst that top group unless teams talk themselves into it. We've seen it happen before. Trubisky, it's happened.
I don't see Mac Jones going high.
Well, that's exactly. So they're going to be picking at that lower end. So there's a chance if they like one of them, maybe, who knows, you could even get them with your second round pick. I think they take a young guy, have him sit behind Smith, and see what happens there. Because they know Smith can be a mentor and show a guy not just how to be a quarterback on the field, I think how to kind of treat yourself on and off the field and be the guy, be the quarterback, be the face of the franchise, which is what this team needs. Yeah. They need just something like that to almost focus on. He's got the weapons there. Gibson, great, catching the ball at the backfield. They've got Scary Terry. This is set up for someone to come in, learn under Smith, be ready to go.
That's what interests me, though, the fact that they've got so much. Like, this defense, I think, is ready now to contend.
Not quite.
And I think this offense, we've seen it this year. The games that Alex Smith has come in and he's game managed, they've gone out and beaten some really good teams. If you can bring in a veteran, and because the issue they're going to have is they've got a number of guys on defense who are going to be up for getting paid in 2-3 years' time. So I mean, even if you say, right, we're going to draft a guy next year, and he's probably not going to play for the first year, and we're going to let Smith whatever, because you're not going to be picking high enough to pick someone who's an instant come in and have an impact. Probably at that point, you're probably taking a swing on maybe a Kyle Trask, maybe a Mac Jones, maybe Zach Wilson falls to you, because there are character questions around him.
They avoid that. Oh, God, surely.
Yeah,
character in Washington. Yeah. Red flag. No, thank you.
But if a veteran becomes available who you know can win games and he's just a bit younger than Alex Smith, and you can get him on for cheap, then I don't think they're that far away from being a win now team. Gibson has shown enough this year, I think, that he can be the running back they need. They've got good weapons at wide receiver. They've got a couple of good tight ends. Sure, I think the defense is good enough to contend. You're in a leaky, like a dodgy NFC East. Okay, if Dak
generous
comes back,
way to talk about it.
Okay, if Dak comes back next year, the Cowboys could be a contending team again. But again, you still don't bet on them going more than 10 wins. And I think the Eagles and Giants aren't close to being contenders at the moment. So they could be in a spot that with a couple of additions, you take a 7-9 team this year that did well to get to 7-9. You chuck in the right quarterback, a bit more on the offensive line, couple of good free agents, and suddenly that's a 10-6, 11-5, and you put themselves in a spot that you've got a real shot at making a run at it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. It's a good spot to be in. Either way, they're setting themselves up at a nice spot. I think with Haskins, though, he's also dropped his agent today. I think there's more maybe to come out about this. I think you might not hear about it, but maybe it's a case of he doesn't feel the agent so enough. Bayern Washington came to him and sort of, agent was like, yeah, I'm not happy with him either, sort of thing. I don't know. I feel like he's going to get other shots. I think the reason he didn't get claimed off waivers is to get out of, obviously, that contract he's on, being a first-round pick. Now teams can just pay him what they want, essentially. He's got to take a deal somewhere, and they can get him pretty low. Who knows? He might have to Josh Rosen and be a practice squad guy next season and get signed there, because the team's going to say, well, the biggest thing this season for players was don't do anything stupid around COVID. Just follow the rules. We're paying you enough, surely. Yeah. And he couldn't do that. So I think maybe there's going to be more to come out about this. Maybe we'll never hear it. But I think this is one of those situations where it's just for them to move on as well. And when they did, not to leave it and do it in the off-season to do it now when
Nice for leading.
Yeah, when there's questions at the quarterback position anyway, nothing's nailed down as injury concerns. If Smith can't play, and Heineke goes out and gets injured, suddenly you're like going to be someone who's completely unfamiliar. Who knows if they got someone on the practice squad who can? It's nightmare situation. So for them to do that, I think there's got to be a bit. It might be maybe it came out there was more than just one COVID breach. Some of that, I think there's more to it around it, which we might not hear. But
his play was just so bad, though. I mean,
but it's still better than what I think other guys will do.
But we've seen how quickly the league is willing to move. Like, look at Josh Rosen. I think your comparison to Josh Rosen there is brilliant. Josh Rosen, 2 seasons in, is on. He's out active on the Niners roster now because they had to bring someone up. He's basically at this point in his career a practice squad guy and waiting for that shot. Now he's not had any of these character issues since he's been in the league. He's actually handled himself relatively well through some very tricky situations with the Arizona thing. He didn't do anything to make everyone go, oh, he's handled this poorly. He's come in and he's been in 2 situations where it's been shown that he went from the worst situation in the league to the worst situation in the league, and the league went, right, you're not good enough. Dwayne Haskins had 2 years in a situation that wasn't anywhere near as bad as that. Like, Washington was bad.
Last year was up there.
But not as bad.
It was not as bad.
It's not as
and the thing is,
still not good.
He came in this year, looked terrible, and then somebody else came in to replace him. And it wasn't like it was a Hall of Famer who's come in to replace him. Alex Smith is probably not going to the Hall of Fame. He's a good player, but he's only ever been considered a game manager. And Alex Smith comes in off a horrible injury, not played in 2 years. Yeah. And suddenly they're a team that's in the playoff contention.
Yeah. Only because of division, though. I don't think I really factored playoff contention
but they've gone
into
from,
this for me.
They've gone from, 2-7. Alex Smith comes in, and now they're at the brink of 7-9. And a lot of that was actually off the back of Haskins' play. Haskins was just bad. And there aren't the excuses of, oh, well, he had a really bad defense and no offensive line and stuff like that. He had some stuff around him, but he showed nothing. So I think that really, the second then that he gave the excuse, they went, right, okay, easy, bye.
Timing still just...
You'd love to be a fly on the wall, I think.
Yeah.
Is what that situation screams out. You'd love to see exactly the conversations that went down, the reasons they gave him, and what really happened the last few weeks. But I mean,
as bad as he is, he's got to be better than, let's say, a random off the practice squad guy you've got filling in, which is why I think for them to do it now, not just wait a week, do it as soon as the game finishes Sunday when you know you don't need him back in or whatever. So who knows? But little question: if we've got let's all call it now. NFC East, who gets in? Who's going playoffs?
I think. Alex Smith doesn't play, I think it's got to be Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm Cowboys too.
It's got to be Cowboys. I don't see the Washington football team winning this game without him against the Seagulls team. And on the flip side, we talked about it earlier about the Cowboys against the Giants. I have the Cowboys to win that one. So that just screams out Cowboys to me.
I want to say Cowboys. That being said, I'd love to see Washington go there.
Seeing a Hurts disaster class on the horizon.
I just said...
Not his Giants somehow finding a way.
The Steelers.
No, I can't. I think I can't see the Giants getting it. I don't think.
Never.
I don't think the Giants are good enough, and I think Washington, if Smith's playing, is probably the better team out of the 3. Just because I think the defense is that good, and Smith won't turn the ball over, right? And I think they've got a best chance of winning a gritty playoff game. As much as I'm a Giants fan, it would be nice to see Smith take a team that started 2-7 to the playoffs, get that comeback player of the year, and because he is just a good guy, and he's the kind of player that when you've got the young guys doing stupid stuff around COVID who haven't proved it in the league, he comes in and he's just the utmost professional.
He's Alex Smith.
He's a legend. He's a legend, and if he could come back and do that, it would just be great to see.
Oh yeah, I think everyone wants to see that.
Everyone wants Washington football team to make it, apart from obviously.
That being said,
fans of the
go Big Blue.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones.
I would love to see Washington make it, and the Cowboys, and even the Eagles.
Let's have them all in.
I think Cowboys on that one. Yeah. Is the answer. But, boys, 17 weeks.
17
previewed
weeks.
every single game.
And now we get to the good stuff.
Next week.
Now it's the
next
good stuff.
week's episode is going to be electric. I get the feeling me and Matt are going to come to some serious blows in next week's episode. I really hope that... Is there a way in which the Titans can play the Browns?
I'm sure.
There isn't, is there?
That would be fun.
That would be brilliant.
Well, no, that I'm not going to argue, though. We'll get into it, but no.
I'll
pass
find
rush.
a way to argue.
There's no pass rush, so I'm not going to be as defensive on that one.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Next week,
a lot of good games coming up.
Yeah, it's a good time of year. Best time of year for.
It's Christmas next week. It's the start of that 4-week Christmas
Yeah.
period. Forget the one last week.
Christmas has come really early this year.
Now we got Christmas coming up.
But boys, unless you have any other points to raise, that is all we've got time for today. So, as ever, be sure to head over to YouTube, go like, comment, and subscribe. Also, turn on the notification bell.
There it is.
Give it a
I'm not
pop.
going to forget it this week because it's pretty vital, I think.
It's quite important. It helps us out.
It does help us out, and it helps you out as well at home because it lets you know when we've posted an episode out. Also, head over to Twitter and Instagram. We're at the Brit Iron, so go join the community over there and get involved with the conversation. But for now, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.